Well, hey, Leos, how about a reading from your metal dog? I'm just checking in on what's going on out there for all of us as we come into this August season, Leo season. We're looking at Saturn and Jupiter square, which can be a challenging relationship with Jupiter wanting to expand and Saturn saying you got to choose, you can't do everything. So that's a little bit of the feeling we have here. I'm thinking about how there's a choice that Kamala Harris has to make for her vice president. What else is going on out there? Pardon me if I'm sweating. It's quite hot here, but this is a great thing to do while it's too hot to be outside. Yeah, so let's just see what the cards want to tell us. And we're going to start out with the Light Seers here. I've been shuffling. We'll see, after splitting the deck, what is going on. What's the overall energy of this time? An Ace of Materials. So this is Earth energy, Pentacles, very practical, abundant energy. It's a new beginning and it's real. You can see how much is growing out of this new beginning. Beautiful. It's exciting. That feels true. What else do we have going on here? Uh-oh. Some interesting energies. 2 cards on the bottom. Underlying energy, the Devil. So this is about codependence, addiction, self-defeating thoughts, kind of the energy of having your head messed with. I wanted to use the F word, but I chose not to. It could be something that you're struggling with, or it's sort of an underlying energy. And then countering that, I'm going to say, is temperance. So this makes me think especially of addiction. So because temperance is an antidote to addiction. And this is a card about waiting and taking the time to alchemize and balance your feelings. We can see the waiting here in this card. You can see the phases of the moon. We're at this phase, the full moon coming in. Not sure. It's going to be an Aquarius full moon. It's around this astrological encounter between Jupiter and Saturn. And a square aspect is just an angle. And it just means that these two things, instead of building and expanding each other, can limit and challenge one another, which is good. I think making a decision is good. And I'm really noticing on these cards here the gestures of their hands. This one seems kind of it's like casual and chaotic, and this one is like a little bit of anxiety and despair. So if we're talking about this new beginning and someone's just going like that and someone's going like that, there's definitely tension. I would say that the Devil is making the Temperance card feel something here. Interesting. Okay, well, we're going to do our basic release, embrace what the stars want to tell us, what the tarot wants to tell us, and what the future may bring. A little advice reading here for this moment for the collective. So we'll find out a little bit more about what this Ace of Materials is all about and these underlying energies as well. And I will clarify, so we'll get a nice baseline story here to begin with, and then we'll get deeper. And you can get bored at any point. I feel like you know the story, but if you're nosy like me, we'll get pretty deep. Okay, so let's see, what should we be embracing? The Hermit. So the Hermit is the alone time, going alone, thinking about what you've learned with your life experience. It's very much about reflecting on your personal history. So if you have been doing that, you've finished that. It's not a bad thing to do. It's just time to release that process of going alone and reflecting on what you feel and what you know and your inner truth as a result of your life journey. What you ought to embrace here. The 7 of Earth. I love this card. So we have a card that's really about waiting for the fruits of your labor to bud. And here we have a mango tree and a fox drooling over the mangoes, the snake helping the woman pick the mangoes. The fox is ready to eat those mangoes. So it's a kind of a collaboration here. I do see again that tension between temperance and the devil. And I love the fox and I love the hungry fox. And sometimes it comes through in a different way. But there is just somebody here kind of waiting to enjoy the fruits of somebody else's labor. The snake and the woman are picking the fruit, and the fox is waiting for it. This is a little bit of a stagnant energy, but it goes with this temperance card here, which is more waiting, right? We had to wait from that new moon to that full moon. So there is a sense that we need to wait and to embrace the waiting. That's what we're being told so far. So if you've been reflecting on some aspect of your life and you want to be thinking in this reading on a collective level, like thinking really about your personal history and what you have learned in the recent past or over the course of your life that has made you wise, you're now kind of shifting towards looking ahead, and you're excited, but there is a sense that you're going to have to wait for what you want to have happen. So what do the stars want to advise you? Oh, beautiful. The Four of Fire. This is one of the soulmate cards. This is a card about authenticity, about being with those who get you, who you can be your true self with. It's a party card. That's what's really coming in for me. And we can see here helping a new fairy be born, right? So there's a little pod, and these two fairies are helping this other one be born into the family. I really do think about the current presidential election when I'm looking at these cards. There's been like this darkness and depression here, isolation, really getting into the feelings, real dark energy here. I mean, this card is not, the Hermit is not a dark card, but the colors of this particular Hermit are dark. It's dreary and sad, and there's blackness and doom here. It's some of the devil energy is like prevailing here in the Hermit. It's like sometimes when we reflect on our past, we can just get overly navel-gazy, I want to say. And there's some of that here of being in your feels and being all alone. And now we turn into this brighter collaboration. It's exciting. Somebody's waiting. The fox, maybe we want to think about the fox's motives. But generally, a Seven of Earth or Seven of Pentacles is just about the wait to enjoy what you've worked really hard for. And then we see the birth and helping somebody birth. And I feel like this is our new presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, on the Democratic side. Maybe if you're strangely a Republican watching this, you could think about your side of the ticket. Maybe Vance. He's having definitely a difficult birth over there. Or some other way in which you are helping the larger collective process. Wow, I'm really sweating. To birth something new. There is, in the Ace of Materials, our underlying card here, there's a lot of natural energy, earthy energy. And since Temperance is also associated with divine support for a process that is healing and balancing and an alchemizing process that takes time, right? Like the seasons changing or a cycle of a moon. It takes time to see things grow. Whatever you're thinking about in your larger collective life that you're helping to bring in, that is associated with your community, with, I see all of these volcanoes here, your planet. This is fiery energy. its energy of creativity and authenticity. And it's one of the soulmate cards that is sometimes associated with marriage. But in this deck, which doesn't ever have couples, it has groups of 3, it has larger communities. It's breaking some of the norms of the tarot deck. I think you should be thinking about younger generations being brought forward, new people, a new candidate, birth. It's some kind of a birth process, which is being added to the meaning of the 4 of Wands here. And let's see what happens as we keep going, but interesting. What does the tarot want you to know that you're not aware of? Page of Air. There is a young messenger here of truth. The Page of Air. Air is the swords. It is blood. It is hot and moist. And it is the truth. I know some people don't like that word moist. But the Page of Air, there is so truth coming in. We do need to clarify this. This fairy seems important, right? Her face looks concerned. Usually a new truth can be difficult to receive. It can be shocking. We can see that she's supported by that full moon. I think again of the timing of temperance here in this Jupiter-Saturn square, that tension, that needing to choose, taking time, waiting until the full moon for that. And I think that's around the 19th, which is also, isn't that when the Democratic National Convention is happening? But we can see the full moon behind this fairy. So that's kind of giving us a sense of the time frame that if we think about what we're waiting for, the tarot is telling us there's going to be a new truth that comes in around the 19th of August, that full moon. Check my work on that because I actually am not sure when the full moon is, but in a couple weeks or so. And we'll find out more about what that truth is when we clarify. I kind of feel like a return of this energy here around then. So, and the future. What is the future? Beautiful. Page of Earth. Returning to this Ace of Materials. The Page of Earth is the same suit as materials in this deck. Pentacles, in both cases. And we can again see that earthly abundance. More, just as we're picking mangoes here, and that's what we're supposed to embrace, enjoying the fruits of our labor or waiting for the fruit to be born. Here we have apples. And the very important kind of Druid or pagan or Wiccan symbol of the apple, the pentagram at the core of the apple. The apple is a very powerful symbol in that tree-based spirituality that I practice. I often leave apples out when I go meditate. Somebody likes to eat it. So I do feel like there is this reception or this gift of the apple. And it's again reminding me of the full moon, that apple shape. We will clarify. So very earthly. It's almost like there's, and I'm kind of seeing it here now too, in our Page of Air. See the flowers there? They're kind of in shadow. But then when we get to the future, we can really see the shocking brightness, the return of color. It's a beautiful harvest. And we are at this start of August here. It's the season of Lunasa, which is a harvest festival, and also called Lammas or Yamas. I'm not sure of the pronunciation of that. That's more of the Christian version of this first harvest festival here. So we're right on time for harvest. And there's been work put in, and we're harvesting the fruits of that labor. The devil is here to challenge us. It's like in these black wings, and crows don't always appear as negative, but there is a kind of difficult, dark-winged truth that's coming in, that's disturbing. and interrupting this rather joyful process of new birth. So when I think about the presidential election, I would say for those of us who are experiencing this joyful birth of Kamala Harris, that we ought to be prepared for some kind of truth that is sets us back a little bit and gets us up in our heads with our self-defeating thoughts. But then we're going to be able to move through this process into this page of earth, which is much more grounded in our bodies, in the planet, and then there's something bigger than us, and that what we know, what we can anticipate. And the planet is always bigger than us, and it has powers that we don't understand, that even biologists and ecologists only kind of glimpse at this point. And it's very much a part of the recovery of our relationship and our kinship with Earth that many of us are working on at this time. So larger than the sort of Republican, Democrat, American-centered politics, there is a larger global message here that I can see like a tension between our thoughts and this faith that Earth will prevail here. And ultimately, I see the planet prevailing. Now, underlying energy here, one card, the Magician, and she kind of actually reinforces this for me, this particular Magician. Now, the Magician card is about having all the tools. You have the wands, you have the pentacles, the sword, and you have the cup. And you can see all four symbols are in this card. And you have the power to manifest, sorry about the glare, the world that you want to live in. The Magician can do this. She has the raw power and the tools to do this. You can see what's happening. We have a bulb blooming into this tulip. We can see many bulbs in the background. And so in this card reinforces what I'm saying about we have these tools, we're making something happen, but then here's the earth going through the seasons, bulbs dying back and returning in the spring, year after snow, this sort of larger cycles that are the underlying energy of what we concern ourselves with on these much shorter human timelines. So that's what's coming in for me here. Let's clarify. I'm inclined to use the Crow Tarot because we've had the crow appear. So nope, not the Crow Tarot. Okay. We're going to go with another Wild Tarot. It's also dark, but the Wild Unknown Pocket Tarot. Because I think the crows are coming in representing our minds. So let's see what a deck with a variety of images will show us. Very clearly wanted to talk about this with you. Okay, so we are, as a collective, releasing the Hermit, this alone time, sort of dark, emotional, thinking about the past. And it's really about your wisdom that you've gained, and it's maybe just saying that it's time to move away from being in isolation. But let's see, we'll clarify. So we get some momentum here, the Chariot. We get some lightening up here, the Daughter of Cups. Just have fun a little bit. Get a little more like a little duckling. Less of this dark, heavy Hermit. And there is movement. You're putting down an old way of thinking, very dark thoughts. The swords represent thoughts, and you're moving towards that rainbow. This definitely is momentum from the Chariot away from this heavy, dark, serious Hermit alone time where you just feel very passive and beaten down and sort of depressed. Like, it's time to release this. And I think we already feel this momentum towards, just lighten up, have a little fun, be joyful. Yeah, and so we see that moving away from our dark thoughts. The Six of Swords is fantastic. It's basically a paradigm shift completely. So where Your eyes are lifted towards the horizon, towards that rainbow, towards that hope. You're moving out of disturbed waters into calmer ones when you're on a Six of Swords. And you're usually doing it with others. And so that's what we see here with our embrace. What we want to move towards is the Seven of Earth. These three picking mangoes here. You know, it's foxes, and perhaps they can't pick mangoes with their paws. And so they need help from the snake and the fairy. Maybe they'll drop a mango on the ground for the fox. I don't know. It just feels often in tarot, the fox I associate with the Seven of Swords. It's a kind of sort of a foxy, wily, sneaky energy. And so that's what's really coming through here. I'll be honest, I'm a little anxious about the vice presidential candidate that I think is going to get picked. Okay, Four of Swords. That is a great card of healing, getting, you can see this cute little lamb has insight. The swords represent thoughts again, so these are your ideas. And you go alone, like this hermit, to examine the things that you hold to be true. And then you get insight. And yes, you get insight. The Mother of Swords gets clarity, and she knows how to cut out what's not working for her. I love this owl's face. She's like, I'm on to you. Yep, I'm on to the truth. She's literally resting on the truth. So she's very powerful queen. The Mother of Swords is the Queen of Swords. And her power is to see the truth and to use it. And she uses the truth to make her life better. She has discernment. And then we have grief, a Five of Cups. Making me think about this Chariot. Right, this Chariot, energy, movement forward. And then we end up here kind of stuck in grief. I just really see, again, I keep thinking about the age difference between the candidates that we've been seeing running. And we have like this new lamb energy, this one that's been sort of waiting to come forward with her insights. And now she's grown up here into the Queen of Swords. Now, I did a reading before the change of the Democratic ticket that predicted a Queen of Swords would be. It predicted the new ticket. It was a good guess because of what was happening after the debate. But here we see this. So I'm currently associating this Queen of Swords with Kamala Harris as that leader of the new ticket. I do think we might be a little bit disappointed, or I might be disappointed in the vice presidential pick. Somebody's sad here. Maybe it's Trump. That Chariot that had all that momentum is now grieving. That's kind of that foxy energy. It's like there's this period that we're in that's all full of hope, and people are picking mangoes and excited to enjoy them, and they're working together, the little snake and the fairy. And there's this one just waiting for a mistake to be made. But we're actually seeing disappointment, loss, and grief from that energy. So that's one way to interpret these cards. I definitely see the lamb growing up into the Queen of Swords, or into this owl. She gets sort of wise, but this is underneath this expression of joy and collaboration. And there's actually quite a bit of compassion towards this Five of Cups. Whoever's feeling bummed out in the collective right now, a Five of Cups invites us to say, oh, they're sad and they need to grieve. And then when you grieve your losses, then you turn and you look forward, and there's a whole new world that you're being invited into. And so that's what we see here, is this being invited into a new world where you get to be your true self. It's very fun. It's very bright. It's magical. There's all of these volcanoes that are representing passion and fire and creativity. It's a new world. It's a beautiful, stable world. The 4 of fire is all about stability. So a table has 4 legs, is stable. 4s are in general stable. And this is a place that holds you as you are. And this is very much what we are being offered right now as a choice. It's a pretty bland platform that invites everybody into equally having access to success and opportunity and justice. There's like nothing wrong with that vision. But we do have some people that are sad. There's 5 of Cups here. So let's see. This is the choice we're being forced into. Let's see. There is an ending of a whole long cycle. This is big. It's the end of a major cycle. What follows this is a new beginning. There's your 4 of Wands again. There is a vision. It's a beautiful vision. And it's coming into fruition. Yes, I can see that. Now, the world in this deck reminds you that you are already complete. You already have everything that you need. Do I have that book in here? I love to occasionally read what the world means in this deck because it's pretty, yeah. Look at, I can read this tiny little deck. Pretty good for a gray-haired lady, right? Okay, the world, wholeness, completion. The world is the final card in the journey of the major arcana. It signifies completion, harmony, and contentment. It's rare to experience this energy, as we are usually consumed by wanting, needing, and achieving. So when this card appears, contemplate for a moment the idea of being whole. Focus on the image on the card. I'll hold it up for you. Focus on the image of the card. Close your eyes and envision this radiating energy inside you. What does it feel like? Where is it located? What blocks you from feeling a sense of wholeness each and every day of your life? So you are already whole. Yes, this what Jupiter and Saturn are bringing into us is unity. It's a feeling of oneness. It's a place for authenticity. It's a vision. It's very hopeful. It's a very bright prospect that is being brought in right now. Now, if you think about Saturn and Jupiter in 2020, in December, they came together in the sky. They were so bright together in the sky that people thought about the star that the 3 wise men followed to the birth of Christ. I'm not Christian, but it's a beautiful story, and I certainly was raised in the Christian tradition. And the sort of hopefulness that brought these 3 leaders or wise men, or whatever they were, sages, magicians, however you think of them, from their different parts of the world together to celebrate the birth of a child, and that they followed this bright star in the sky. And some people theorized that it was that long ago when Saturn and Jupiter came together in the sky. I personally went out that night with my dog in the woods and sat on a rock in the middle of the forest and watched those stars that night when they were closest, when they were working together. Now they're in tension. So we're seeing some of the effects of that. And there's your Hermit again. Yeah, so this is what is the insight that you gained from the past. So this is totally speaking to that 2020 encounter of Jupiter and Saturn. Now they're 90 degrees apart I'm trying to, let me see if I can remember where they are. I think, yeah, I can't remember where they are. I should be able to. If I think of it, I feel a little bit on the spot, so I'm blanking out. I want to say that Jupiter is in Pisces and Saturn is in Gemini, but I might have that reversed. Probably too much nerdy astrology for you. But yeah, so we've released this Hermit. So if we think back to 2020, to a darker time, I mean, that's like January 6th. It was a time of extreme precarity for our democracy. And really, when our democracy is precarious, so is the kind of what we can do to our planet. It's quite different what may happen on our planet depending on who is leading this nation. Like right now, on this precarious climate moment, it really matters to have a leader in office who's working to prevent a climate crisis rather than one that's perhaps trying to, end the EPA and drill baby drill on day one. Someone like that is probably going to lead us into catastrophe. And we're really feeling this energy of this danger, and it's we're in our heads about it. The Hermit is about getting in our heads. So if you think back to 2020, an equally precarious moment. But here we are. We have the world, that whole sense of wholeness. We have the Four of Wands twice. This beautiful scene of birth into community. I think of people from different faiths, different traditions, a lot of difference collapsing together into oneness, into unity, into wholeness. And that this is a kind of moment of a great and beautiful vision coming into focus. This sort of God's eye construction, whatever that was that you manifested back in 2020 when those planets came together in the night sky, it's coming in right now. The Four of Wands. Okay, the tarot wants you to know about this, though. This feels like a bump in the road. The face on this fairy looks pretty serious. The crow coming in, although this artist loves crows, and she's the one who did this crow tarot deck. I mean, it's just in this particular reading, it's reminding me of what has been past, right? That 2020 dark energy that we exchanged the darkness for rainbows and lightness. Okay, let's see. Another Seven of Pentacles. Seven of Earth, right? We saw that. That's this card. Seven of Earth, Seven of Pentacles. So there's this waiting for all of the fruits of your labor to pay off. Some conflict and chaos. A little competition, never hurt anybody. A little anarchy. I like it. You can also experience the Five of Wands is all of your, sort of the tools of the magician, the sword representing your intellect, the wand representing your passion, your body, your desire, the cup, your emotions, your practicality, the pentacles, right? So all of those sides of you competing, if we think about this in a larger collective sense, we're thinking about competing motivations and ideals out there in conflict and death, transformation. Great. It's card of Scorpio. Not easy. I've become so used to the death card that I'm actually excited when I see it, but it's a pretty intense transformation. So that's the bird. That's the bird that's coming in, right? That she's receiving this crow. She's receiving death. So there's all of this waiting for the fruits of our labor to pay off, and then there's a conflict, and then there's transformation or death. I don't know why it feels like a real death in this reading. It in the way that grief is about change. We're definitely seeing grief at change here. Yeah, there's something serious that the tarot wants us to know that is dying in this conflict. Just 2 cards underneath here to sort of elaborate on that. There's a 9 of Pentacles. It's really like your safe home, your sovereignty. But there's also a death of a whole philosophy here. So sometimes you peek under here. These are the cards. This is your safe home, followed by the death of an ideal, of a philosophy. So I feel like the death is an idea. It's a paradigm. So in some way, there's been a lot of work put into creating conflict and chaos. And that this is transforming something in a way that means we can never go back. Death takes us into a whole new existence. I tend to welcome that kind of change. I feel that we need it. And my feeling is that, for me, what's happening goes back to 2016, when we all woke up sort of surprised about what happened. And it caused us to literally awaken, to come to consciousness about, we thought we were somewhere and that we just elected our first black president, and then we were going to elect the first woman, and we weren't crazy about her, but we just thought we were on this progression. But instead we woke up to, well, okay, we haven't actually done enough to change the world to make that possible. And in thinking that we were just having this progressive party, we kind of overlooked the fact that a lot of people were just losing and losing and losing, and were pretty frustrated with the tone, and then were vulnerable to a message that was really dark and crabby and stingy and divisive. And white people who considered themselves progressive definitely had to look inside and examine their participation and their complacency that had led us to that point. And I think it was good for us, even though it was also hell. It was very scary. It was very depressing. A lot of people died of COVID. It was just a shameful 4 years. And we really had to look at ourselves. All of us had to look at ourselves. And we all came out of that changed. And I feel like that's a part of this process of transformation that's taking a long time, that we've really worked hard on. We're kind of at odds on what it means, but we're definitely transformed. And you can't put it back. We're not going back to 2016. We're not going back to 1950. We're not going back to the 20s or the 30s. We're definitely not going back to the 1860s. This is a forward movement. It's predicted by the tarot. It's predicted by this astrological message here. This is real transformation. Okay, the future is a page of Earth. It's beautiful, it's abundant, it's a gift, it's magical. And it's the kind of magic that we're reawakening to. We've been taking it for granted for a very long time, but it's not a presidential election, although it might be supported by a presidential election, but it's bigger than that. Wow. Yeah, it's gorgeous. The Lovers. Father of Swords, learning to use the truth with kindness, with justice. And the Eight of Swords, feeling trapped in your mind by your thoughts, unable to fly free. So the Lovers provokes us to think about a choice between the Father of Swords, that wise and just way of using the truth, and then this other experience of being trapped and afraid of the truth. And it's in your head that you can't fly out of here. It looks like these concepts, these ideas will prick your wings and disable you and make it impossible for you to fly. But the truth is, you're free, you have wings, and you can fly. So that if the Lovers, it brings in that sort of large sense of beauty, of the sort of beautiful ticket, these kindred spirits flying into this rainbow light of justice. It sort of makes me think of the sun, the happiest card in the tarot. It's really a kind of commitment in the Lovers of mind, body, heart, and soul. It's on all levels. That's why it represents a choice, because it's not easy to choose something so complete and vulnerable and intimate. But when you choose it, it can feel like this is a big choice, to take hold of that rainbow sword and use it with kindness and grace and compassion. The King of Swords has been the page grabbing hold of this new idea, and then the Knight of Swords riding out to use that truth as if in battle, and then the Queen who's like, you know what, I'm not taking your shit anymore, you're cut out, kind of cool. To this king, this is a progression of, and I guess I can already see it in candidate Kamala Harris, how, because we keep seeing images of Obama when he was young and his hair was dark, and now he has silver hair, and frankly, so do I. And so the presidency, we know, matures you and ages you, or it can. It really can. There's still a lot of people who are represented in the cards here on the bottom row, who feel trapped in their minds, in their ideas and their ideology, and they're not flying. It's very much in contrast to the Lovers, and the sword does not liberate them, it traps them. The very same sword that the Father of Swords used with such kindness, they feel confined by. And so in a way, there's a bunch of people who are feeling like this, and they're kind of going through something that feels like this. And in the future, we see them really trapped in their minds. We still see kind of a dilemma between the two tickets. It's not decided here yet. It seems that at this moment, the cards can predict. But what we do know is that there is a tension between this sort of dark-winged devil and the bright-colored Four of Wands, fairies and collaborations and authenticity. The rainbow here, the vision of justice and of a new world that is a whole, that is unified, that there's still people who are feeling excluded from this and saddened and they're grieving. But in the greater sense, if we really look and around us, like at this magician, like it doesn't matter whose truth it is that she holds, like which philosophy prevails at the end of the day. What we're really seeing is this earth, this tulip, this bulb under the dark earth. Like, even if winter comes again, there will be spring. And that's what this tells us, like in the grander narrative, whatever happens, it's going to be all right. What's going on the bottom of this deck? Yay, one card. Justice. Beautiful. Look at cats holding the earth in their tails. They have the sword too. They're looking at that truth. They're collaborating. I always like to tell that this card in my first deck, this is my first deck, but this is a tiny version of that deck. And the artist has revised this card. She's added the globe and she's added the color. And so that's important to me, that the artist's sense of justice is this rainbow transgender flag, and there's the planet. So we're talking about ecological justice. We're talking about justice amongst people. Yeah, it really makes me look at her dark wings and look at the light behind her. The magician sometimes is read as sometimes the magician is read as a manipulator and a manipulative energy. And so when we see the hermit having dark wings, the page of air has that crow flying in, and then the magician here, the big powerful energy of the devil. And then against that, kind of see this maturing of this Queen of Swords, who I associate with Kamala Harris. We see that fox kind of drooling. When is she going to drop the mango? And but really what we see as balancing that dark-winged energy, that manipulative magician, is that tulip. And this energy that we see in the future, the magic of the planet herself. And there it is. That's the fruit, right? That we see here twice on the table, the Seven of Pentacles. And the Seven of Pentacles. There's been work done, and we are still waiting to see it bear fruit, and it will. So, for me, that work is critical race theory, wokeness. Like, there's a reason why the other people are attacking that. It's effective. It's needed. It will transform the world. You know, there's nothing bad about it. We should be embracing this. And that's what this says that to me too. And hello, cat ladies for Kamala, right? Did I introduce my host here at my Airbnb, the little orange kitty? I don't know her name. So you can see her back there. We can zoom in, can we? No. Okay, I can't zoom in this mode. My camera says we also have the black kitty there. So I'm about to go do a Leo reading. But as far as a collective reading, this is very ambiguous, and it's a strong message. It isn't easy. And some people are having a very hard time. And I think it's the dark-winged ones, whoever those are for you. This is a collective reading. You will take it as you will. It doesn't have to be about the presidential election. What is in common, no matter how you stand on whatever issue, and what this means to you in the collective, there's something bigger than the human collective here that is underneath all of this, and it is coming through as Earth herself. It's the divine, however you interpret the divine. And it is here, it's these big major arcana concepts of justice. It's almost like it's natural. It's natural to have all the color and all the generosity and the abundance. And then that counteracts the dark vision so easily and so beautifully and so joyfully. So whatever happens, it doesn't tell us what will happen in this election. I'll do another one later. In some senses, I'm anxious looking at this reading about the vice presidential candidate that is selected. I see the King of Swords here. Is that Kamala Harris? Is that a Tim Waltz. I like him. He's a progressive girl dad. He makes me think of teachers I had as a kid. Although he's not much older than me. He's 60. But the Fox makes me think of somebody who might have like their own agenda. And then when I see this and I think, am I the one that's going to be feeling grief here? It's funny to be anxious about something. The cards basically say, don't be anxious. There's something way bigger supporting the health of us and this planet. And it's bigger and more important than one election. So I have friends that assure me this, and I'm going to take this assurance from the tarot, and I hope you can as well. All right, have a beautiful day.